The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Commander Jake Morrison walked inside with Dr. Lisa Carter right behind him. Their footsteps echoed in the huge room as hundreds of alien eyes turned to watch them. Jake kept his face calm, but his heart was beating fast. This was the most important day in human history. The chamber was like nothing on Earth. The ceiling stretched up so high that clouds formed near the top. Floating platforms held delegates from dozens of different worlds. Some aliens looked like giant insects with shiny shells. Others had tentacles instead of arms. A few glowed with their own light. Jake had studied pictures of them for months, but seeing them in person was still shocking. Ambassador Veltar stood on the highest platform. He was from the Cathani Empire, one of the most powerful groups in the galaxy. His body was made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through him in slow waves. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. The human delegation will approach the center platform, Veltar announced. His words were translated into English by small devices in Jake's and Lisa's ears. Jake and Lisa walked too. The platform in the middle of the room rose up from the floor with a quiet hum. Now they were level with most of the other delegates. Jake could see the aliens more clearly. Some were beautiful in a strange way. Others made his skin crawl. But all of them were watching the humans with the same expression. Fear. Commander Morrison of Earth, Veltar said. Dr. Carter of Earth, you have come before this council to request membership in our galactic community. We have reviewed your application. We have studied your world. We've reached our decision. Lisa squeezed Jake's arm gently. They both knew this moment would change everything for humanity. Either they would join the galaxy's greatest civilizations, or they would be left alone in the dark. Your world has been classified, Veltar continued. According to our scientific standards, Earth is a Class 12 death world. This is the highest danger rating in our system. A hologram appeared above their heads. It showed Earth from space, blue and white and beautiful, but then the image changed. It showed hurricanes that could destroy entire cities, tornadoes that could lift houses into the air, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that turned day into night with their ash. Your planet's weather systems are extremely violent, said another delegate. This one looked like a tall, thin tree with silver bark. The atmospheric pressure changes would kill most of our species instantly. More images appeared. Lions hunting in Africa, sharks swimming in the oceans, poisonous snakes and spiders, bears that could break a person's bones with one swipe. The aliens made nervous sounds as they watched. Your world's life forms are incredibly aggressive, the tree-like alien continued. Even your plant life produces deadly toxins. We have found over 3,000 species on your planet that could kill a Cathani in minutes. Jake started to speak, but Veltar held up one crystal hand to stop him. There is more, Veltar said. Your species itself shows clear signs of death world adaptation. You're stronger than any other known intelligent species. Your reaction times are faster. Your endurance is beyond our measurements. You can survive injuries that would kill any civilized being. The hologram changed again. It showed human soldiers in combat, athletes running and jumping, people working in conditions that would be impossible for most aliens, mountain climbers, scaling icy peaks, deep-sea divers going to crushing depths. Most concerning of all, Veltar said, is your species' behavior patterns. You actively seek danger. You compete against each other in violent sports. You explore the most dangerous parts of your own planet for entertainment. This is not normal behavior for intelligent life. Lisa felt anger rising in her chest. She was a scientist. She had spent her whole life studying and learning and trying to make the world better. But these aliens saw her as some kind of monster just because she was human. You make us sound like savage animals, she said. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber. But we are not. We have art and music and literature. We have laws and governments. We take care of our sick and our elderly. We have stopped wars and made peace. A delegate that looked like a floating jellyfish pulsed with red light. Dr. Carter, your species has been at war for its entire recorded history. You have weapons that could destroy your own planet. You have used these weapons against your own people. How can you claim to be peaceful? Jake stepped forward. We have had wars, yes, but we have also had peace. We have learned from our mistakes. We came here not to conquer or to fight, but to learn, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. That is exactly what makes you dangerous, Veltar said. His crystal body flashed brighter. Every Deathworld species we have encountered has said the same thing. They all claim to want peace. They all promise to follow our laws. But their true nature always emerged. Violence is bred into your bones. You cannot escape what you are. The chamber filled with the sounds of alien voices agreeing, clicks and whistles and musical tones that all meant the same thing. They were afraid of humans. We have records, said a blue-skinned delegate with 4 arms. 17 different Deathworld species have applied for membership over the last 2,000 years. 14 of them were rejected immediately. 3 were allowed. To join on a trial basis, all 3 caused massive disruptions. Wars broke out. Entire star systems were abandoned. Billions died. We learned our lesson, Veltar said. Deathworld species cannot coexist with civilized life. You are too dangerous, too unpredictable, too violent. Jake felt desperation growing. Inside him, give us a chance. Let us prove that we are different. We can be valuable members of your community. We can contribute. We can help. Help with what? Asked the tree-like delegate. We have no wars to fight. We have no dangerous worlds to explore. We have no need for the skills that your violent evolution has given you. What could you possibly offer us that we do not already have? Lisa tried one more time. We could offer new perspectives, new ways of thinking. We could help you solve problems that you have never faced before. The problems we face, Veltar said coldly, are usually caused by species like yours. To vote was swift and unanimous. Every delegate raised their hand or tentacle or glowing appendage in agreement. Earth was rejected. Humanity was banned from galactic space. Any human ship that ventured beyond their own solar system would be destroyed. Without warning, this decision is final, Veltar announced. You will return to your world immediately. You will not leave your star system. You will not attempt to contact any galactic species. If you violate these terms, we will consider it an act of war. And Lisa stood alone on their platform as it lowered back to the floor. Around them, the alien delegates were already talking about other business. The humans had been dismissed, like children who had asked for something they could never have, as they walked toward the exit. Jake heard one delegate say to another, "At least they are contained. As long as they stay in their own system, they cannot hurt anyone." The massive doors closed behind them with a final, echoing boom. Jake and Lisa stood in the corridor outside, feeling the weight of failure pressing down on them. They had come so far and hoped for so much, but in the end, humanity was alone in the universe. "What do we tell them back home?" Lisa asked quietly. Jake straightened his shoulders and looked at her with determination in his eyes. "We tell them the truth, and then we figure out what to do next." Neither of them knew that in 6 months, a small group of humans would decide that the galaxy's rejection was not the end of the story. It was just the beginning. The old mining tunnels on Luna were dark and cold. Captain Roy Baker walked through the narrow passages with a small flashlight in his hand. Behind him, 3 other people followed quietly. They had been planning this meeting for weeks, but they still had to be careful. Earth's government had ordered everyone to accept the Council's decision. Anyone caught planning to defy the aliens would be arrested. Roy stopped at a heavy metal door marked with old warning signs. He typed a code into the lock and the door opened with a grinding sound. Inside was a large room that had once stored mining equipment. Now it held tables, chairs, and computer screens. This was their secret headquarters. Amy Walsh was already waiting inside. She was one of the best pilots in the Earth Defense Force, but like Roy, she had been ordered to stop all activities related to alien contact. She looked up as they entered and gave them a grim smile. "Any trouble getting here?" she asked. "Nothing unusual," Roy replied, "but I think they are watching us more closely now." Chris Parker came in next, carrying a heavy bag of tools and electronic parts. He was an engineer who had worked on the first human spacecraft designed for long-distance travel. The government had shut down his project after the Council's rejection. Chris had saved as many parts as he could. The last person to arrive was Dr. Sam Torres. She was a scientist who studied alien life forms. She had spent years preparing for the day when humans would meet other species in space. Now that day might never come, but she had not given up hope. Roy closed the door behind them and activated a small device that would block any listening equipment. They could speak freely now, but they had to be quick. Too much time in one place would attract attention. 6 months, Roy said. 6 months since they told us we could never leave our solar system. 6 months of sitting here like prisoners while the rest of the galaxy goes on without us. The government says we should be patient, Chris said with bitter anger in his voice. They think maybe the aliens will change their minds in a few years, maybe a few decades. Amy laughed, but there was no humor in it. I have seen the records from the council meeting. Those aliens are not going to change their minds. They think we are too dangerous to exist. If we wait, they might decide we are too dangerous to live. Dr. Torres nodded. I have been monitoring alien communications that we can intercept. Most of the talk is about containing us. Some groups are discussing whether they should destroy Earth before we develop better technology. The room was quiet for a moment as everyone absorbed this information. Roy had suspected this might be true, but hearing it confirmed made his stomach tight with fear and anger. That is why we are here, Roy said. Operation Breakout. We are not going to sit and wait for them to decide our fate. We are going to take control of it ourselves. He activated a wall screen that showed technical drawings and star charts. Chris, show them what you have been working on. Chris opened his bag and pulled out a small device that looked like a metal egg with wires. Coming out of it, this is a prototype cloaking system. It is based on technology we salvaged from the first alien probe that visited our system. We could not understand most of it, but I figured out how to copy some parts. He connected the device to his computer and showed them a simulation. It creates a field around a spacecraft that bends light and other radiation. To alien sensors, the ship would look like empty space. Amy leaned forward to examine the device more closely. How long does it work? Right now, maybe 2 hours, Chris admitted, but I think I can improve it. With more time and better materials, maybe 6 hours, maybe more. That might be enough, Roy said. Show them the ship. Chris switched to another screen that displayed the blueprint of a spacecraft. It was smaller than most human ships, built for speed and stealth rather than comfort. I call it the Wanderer. It uses human engineering principles that the aliens think are impossible. They build everything with computer control and safety systems. We build things that a human pilot can control directly. Amy studied the design with professional interest. The engines are positioned strangely. Why? Because human pilots can handle more acceleration and sharper turns than alien pilots, Chris explained. Their bodies are more fragile. The reaction times are slower. This ship is designed to take advantage of what makes us different. Dr. Torres spoke up. I have been researching alien psychology and politics. The Council presents itself as a perfect democracy, but there are cracks. Several smaller species are unhappy with how they are treated. They might be willing to help us if we approach them carefully. She showed them a list of alien species with notes about their political situations. The Gelinari have been complaining about economic restrictions. The Valonics are angry about territorial disputes. The Quintal want more representation in the Council. If we could contact them secretly, we might find allies. Roy nodded. That is exactly what I was hoping to hear. We cannot fight the entire galaxy alone, but we do not have to. We just need to prove that humans are not the monsters they think we are. There is a problem, Amy said. Even if we build this ship and make it work, even if we find allies, we will be breaking galactic law. Earth will be held responsible for our actions. They could attack our planet. The room was quiet again. This was the hardest part of their plan. If they were caught, Earth might pay the price. Chris spoke first. My sister lives in New York. My parents are in California. I do not want anything to happen to them. But if we do nothing, something will happen to them anyway. The aliens are already talking about destroying us. I have children, Dr. Torres said quietly. Twin daughters, they are only 8 years old. I want them to grow up in a universe where humans can explore the stars, where they can meet other species and learn about different worlds. If we give up now, they will spend their whole lives as prisoners. Amy nodded. My grandmother always told me that sometimes you have to take risks to protect the people you love. Sitting here and hoping the aliens will be nice to us is not protection. It is just slow suicide. All eyes turned to Roy. As the leader of their group, the final decision was his. He thought about his own family, his wife and his young son back on Earth. He thought about all the humans who would never see. The stars, if the aliens had their way. We do this, he said, but we do it smart. We do not hurt anyone unless we have to. We do not give them any reason to say we are the violent monsters they think we are. We prove them wrong by our actions. Chris smiled for the first time in months. How long do we have? The ship will take at least 3 months to build, Roy said. Maybe 4. We will need to gather materials without attracting attention. We'll need to test the cloaking device. We'll need to plan our route and identify potential allies. What about the government? Amy asked. They have ordered us to stand down. Roy's face became hard. The government is scared. They think if we behave like good prisoners, the aliens will be kind to us. But the aliens do not want us to behave. They want us to disappear. Since the government will not protect humanity's future, we will have to do it ourselves. Dr. Torres looked worried. If we are caught, we will be branded as criminals, traitors to our own species. History is written by the winners, Roy said. If we succeed, we will be heroes. If we fail, it will not matter what anyone calls us, because humanity will not have a future anyway. They spent the next 2 hours planning details and assigning tasks. When they finally left the abandoned mining facility, they went separately and by different routes. They would not meet again for 2 weeks, but they all had work to do. As Roy walked back to his transport, he looked up at the Earth through Luna's dome. His homeworld looked peaceful and beautiful from here. But he knew that appearances could be deceiving. Humanity was in more danger now than ever before in its history. The aliens thought they had solved the human's problem by keeping them locked in their own solar system, but they had made a mistake. They had underestimated what humans would do when their backs were against the wall. In 3 months, the galaxy would learn that humans did not give up easily. The Deathworlders were coming, whether they were welcome or not. The Wanderer drifted silently through space near Kepler 442. Captain Roy Baker sat in the pilot's chair, watching the stars through the small window. It had been 3 days since they left Luna in secret. So far, their cloaking device was working perfectly. No alien ships had detected them. Amy Walsh sat at the navigation station, monitoring long-range sensors. Chris Parker was in the engine room, making constant adjustments to keep their systems running smoothly. Dr. Sam Torres was at the communications console, listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. Captain Sam said suddenly, I am picking up a distress signal. It is coming from the 4th planet in this system. Roy turned his chair toward her. What kind of signal? It is in Gelinary language, Sam replied, checking her translation computer. A research ship. They're saying. Their life support systems are failing. They need immediate assistance. Amy looked up from her station. That is one of the species you said might be friendly to us, Roy thought carefully. This was not part of their plan. They were supposed to avoid contact with any aliens until they reached the neutral zone near the galactic rim. But if they ignored a distress call, what did that say about human values? How far away are they? Roy asked. 2 hours at maximum speed, Amy answered. Any other ships in the area? Sam checked her sensors again. Nothing on my screens. We seem to be the only ones who received their signal. Chris came up from the engine room, wiping grease from his hands. Did I hear something about a distress call? Roy explained the situation. Chris looked worried. If we help them, they will know humans left the solar system. Council will find out we violated their ban. If we do not help them, they might die, Roy said. Is that the kind of species we want to be? The 4 humans looked at each other. They all knew this decision would change everything. They helped the aliens, there would be no turning back. But if they let innocent beings die, what was the point of proving humans were better than the Council believed? We helped them, Roy decided. Amy, set course for the 4th planet. Sam, try to contact their ship. Tell them help is coming. The Wanderer changed direction and accelerated toward the planet. As they got closer, they could see the Gelinary research vessel on their main screen. It was shaped like a long tube with fins on the sides. Smoke was coming from several holes in its hull. Sam established contact with the alien ship. The voice that answered sounded desperate and afraid. "This is research vessel Quintel speaking. Who is responding to our distress call?" Sam looked at Roy. He nodded and took the communication device. "This is Captain Baker of the human ship. Wanderer, we received your distress signal and are coming to assist you." There was a long silence. Then the alien voice came back, higher and more frightened. "Did you say human? As in the Deathworld species that was banned from galactic space?" "Yes," Roy said calmly. "We are humans. But we are not here to hurt you. We want to help." Another pause. Then a different voice came on the radio. This one sounded older and more tired. "This is Chief Researcher Quintel. Captain Baker, we are grateful for any assistance. Our main power core is failing. We have maybe 6 hours of life support remaining." Roy looked at Chris. "Can we help them?" Chris was already studying the sensor readings of the alien ship. Their technology is different from ours, but the basic principles are the same. "I think I can jury-rig something to get their systems working again." The Wanderer docked with the alien research vessel. Roy, Chris, and Sam put on their spacesuits and crossed through the airlock. The inside of the alien ship was dimly lit and filled with strange smells. The gravity was lighter than Earth normal. 3 Gelinari waited for them in the main corridor. They were about the same size as humans, but had gray skin and large dark eyes. Their hands had 6 fingers each. They wore simple robes that seemed to shimmer in the low light. The oldest Gelinari stepped forward. "I am Quintel. You are really humans." "The ones the Council warned us about?" "We are humans," Roy confirmed. "But we are not what the Council told you we were." Quintel studied them carefully. "You do look dangerous. Strong. Built for violence. But you came to help us." "Why?" Sam answered before Roy could speak. "Because it was the right thing to do. In human culture, we help people in trouble. It does not matter what species they are." Chris was already examining their damaged equipment. "Your power coupling is burned out. Your backup systems are overloaded. But I think I can fix it with parts from our ship." One of the younger Gelinori looked nervous. "Should we trust them? Council says Deathworlders are unpredictable, violent." Quintel watched Chris work. The human engineer was being very careful, not to damage anything. His movements were precise and gentle, despite his strength. Judge them by their actions, not by what others say about them. For the next 4 hours, Chris and Sam worked alongside the Gelinari engineers. The aliens were amazed by human problem-solving methods. Where they would have replaced entire systems, the humans found ways to repair and modify existing equipment.
"You
Make it look so simple," said one of the Gelinari engineers. "We would have needed a full repair facility to fix this damage." Chris smiled. "Humans learn to make do with what we have. Our planet does not give us everything we need easily. We have to be creative." While the repairs were happening, Roy talked with Quintel in the ship's common area. The alien researcher seemed curious about human culture and history. "The Council told us that humans are constantly at war," Quintel said, "that you destroy your own environment. You cannot be trusted." Roy nodded. "We have had wars. We have made mistakes, but we have also learned from them. We have stopped many conflicts through negotiation. We work together when we face common threats." "What are you doing out here?" Quintel asked. "The Council banned your species from galactic space." Roy decided to be honest. "We think the Council is wrong about us. We want to prove that humans can be valuable members of the galactic community, but they will not give us a chance." Quintal was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised Roy. The Council is not always right about everything. Before Roy could ask what he meant, Sam called from the engine room. Captain, we have a problem. I am detecting ships approaching this system. Multiple vessels. Roy and Quintal hurried to the control room. On the main screen, they could see 5 large warships entering the system. They had the distinctive design of Council military vessels. "This is War Commander Zeftos of the Catheni fleet," came a voice over the radio. "We have detected an unauthorized human vessel in this system. The human ship will surrender immediately or be destroyed." Amy's voice came through Roy's communicator from the Wanderer. "Captain, they found us. The cloaking device must have failed when we docked with the alien ship." Roy looked at the approaching warships on the screen. They were much larger than the Wanderer and heavily armed. In a straight fight, the humans would not stand a chance. Quintal, Roy said quietly, "Need to leave now. Thank you for letting us help you." But the Gelinari researcher grabbed Roy's arm. "Wait, these Council ships? They are not here by accident. They were tracking us. What do you mean?" Quintal looked ashamed. "We're not just doing research. The Council hired us to study ways to extract resources from Deathworlds without sending their own people. They want to strip mine planets like yours, but they are too afraid to do it themselves." Roy felt anger building inside him. "They want to destroy our worlds, but they call us the dangerous ones. The Council does many things they do not want other species to know about," Quintal said. "I've been having doubts about our work for months. The Council ships were getting closer." Roy had to make a decision quickly. "Chris, Sam, get back. To our ship now?" As they ran toward the airlock, Quintal called after them. "Captain Baker, if you survive this, find me at coordinates I am sending to your computer. There are things you need to know about the Council, things that might help your people." Roy and his team made it back to the Wanderer just as the Council ships came into weapons range. Amy had already started the engines and was preparing to run. "This is your final warning," came Zeftos' voice. "Surrender now or face the consequences." Roy strapped himself into his chair. "Amy, get us out of here. Best possible speed." Wanderer shot away from the planet just as the Council ships opened fire. Energy beams lit up the space around them, but Amy's piloting skills kept them just ahead of the blasts. "They are faster than us," Amy reported.
Ow.
"I can outmaneuver them for a while, but they will catch us eventually." Roy watched the tactical display. The Council ships were spreading out to surround them.
Soon.
There would be nowhere to run. But then, something unexpected happened. The damaged Gelinari research ship moved between them and the largest Council warship. It was a brave but hopeless gesture. The research vessel had no weapons and was barely functional. "Quintal, get out of there," Roy said into his communicator. "We owe you a debt," came the reply. "You saved our lives, now we save yours." The distraction gave Amy the opening she needed. She pushed the Wanderer through a gap in the Council formation and toward the edge of the star system. Behind them, the Council ships hesitated, unwilling to fire on the Gelinari vessel as they reached the systems. Boundary, Roy realized something important had happened. The asteroid field looked empty from the outside, but Roy knew better. Coordinates Quintal had given them led deep into a maze of floating rocks and metal debris. Amy piloted the Wanderer carefully through the obstacles, while Sam monitored their communications equipment. "I am picking up encrypted signals," Sam reported. "Multiple sources. This place is definitely inhabited." Chris looked up from his repair work. The battle with the Council ships had damaged several of their systems. "Are they going to shoot at us?" "Unknown," Roy said. "But we do not have many other options. Our fuel is running low, and the Council is still hunting us." A new voice suddenly came through their radio speakers. It sounded rough and mechanical, like it was being filtered through old equipment. "Unknown vessel, you are entering restricted space. State your identity and purpose." Roy took the communicator. "This is Captain Baker of the human ship Wanderer. We are seeking safe harbor. Researcher Quintal sent us these coordinates.
There
Was a long pause. Then the voice came back, sounding surprised. Did you say human, as in the Deathworld species? Yes, Roy answered. We are humans. Another pause. Then a different voice came on the radio. This one sounded older and more authoritative. Human vessel. Follow the beacon signal we are transmitting. Any deviation from the flight path will result in your destruction. A bright signal appeared on their navigation screen, leading them deeper into the asteroid field. Amy followed it carefully while the rest of the crew watched for hidden weapons, or ships. After 20 minutes of flying through the maze, they emerged into a large hollow space carved out of a massive asteroid. What they saw there amazed them. The inside of the asteroid had been turned into a huge space station. Docking bays, living areas, and industrial facilities covered every surface. Ships of dozens of different designs were parked throughout the complex. Some looked familiar from their studies of alien technology. Others were completely unknown. Welcome to Haven Station, came the voice on the radio. Dock at Bay 7. You will be met by station security. The Wanderer settled into the assigned docking bay with a soft thump. Through the window, Roy could see aliens of many different species walking around the station, wore uniforms that looked military. Others dressed like merchants or workers. All of them seemed to be watching the human ship with great interest. Everyone stays alert, Roy told his crew. We do not know if these people are friends or enemies yet. They put on their sidearms and walked to the airlock. When it opened, they found themselves facing 3 aliens in military uniforms. The leader was tall and thin with blue skin and 4 arms. Roy recognized the species from his studies. It was a Veltar, the same species as the Council ambassador, who had rejected humanity. I am Commander Krixva, the alien said in accented English. Former General of the Veltar Third Fleet, you are the humans who escaped from Zeftos? Former General, Roy asked. Krixva's expression became grim. I disagreed with certain council policies. They decided I was no longer suitable for command. Now I run security for this station. He gestured for them to follow him.
I'm there.
Are many people here who want to meet the famous Deathworlders? They walked through corridors filled with aliens from species Roy had never seen before. Some looked like the ones from the council chamber, but others were completely different. A few seemed to be mixtures of different species, as if they came from worlds where multiple races lived together. What is this place? Sam asked, as they walked. Haven Station is a sanctuary, Krixva explained. We provide shelter for refugees, political exiles, and anyone else the council considers undesirable. Pirates, smugglers, freethinkers, rebels, all are welcome here as long as they follow our rules. Entered a large common area filled with tables and chairs. Dozens of aliens were eating, talking, and conducting business. When they saw the humans, many stopped what they were doing to stare. Word travels fast out here, Krixva said. Everyone has heard about your escape from Kepler 442. Some think you are heroes, others think you are fools. But all agree you have courage. He led them to a private room where more aliens were waiting. Roy recognized one of them immediately. It was Quintal, the Gelinary researcher they had rescued. Captain Baker, Quintal said, standing up. I am glad you made it safely. I was not sure you would survive Zeftos' attack. I almost did not, Roy admitted. Thank you for helping. Us escape. It was the least I could do, Quintal replied. You saved my crew's lives. But that is not why I asked you to come here. He activated a holographic display that showed star charts and documents. What I am about to tell you could change everything. The council is not what it appears to be. For the next hour, Quintal explained what he had learned during his years of working for the council. They claimed to be a democratic organization dedicated to peace and prosperity for all species. But in reality, they were controlled by a small group of powerful worlds that used fear and economic pressure to maintain their dominance.
Now, the Deathworld classification system is not just about safety, he said. It is about control. Any species
that might challenge council authority gets labeled as dangerous and isolated. Chris looked confused. But what about all those records of Deathworld species causing problems? Some of those records are real, Quintal admitted, but many are exaggerated or completely false. They Deathworld species for centuries to justify their policies. Dr. Torres leaned forward. Why are you telling us this? Because I think humans might be different, Quintal said. Every other Deathworld species we encountered was alone when they applied for membership. They had no allies and no one to speak for them, but you have something they did not have. What? Roy asked. Crixa answered. Each other, and now us. Over the following days, Roy and his crew learned more about the hidden politics of the galaxy. Haven Station was just one of many secret bases operated by species that opposed Council rule, were motivated by economics, others by ideology. A few were simply tired of being told what they could and could not do. Dr. Torres set up a small medical clinic in one of the station's unused rooms. Her knowledge of Deathworld biology proved incredibly valuable. Most alien doctors had never dealt with the kinds of injuries and diseases that were common on harsh worlds. Her treatments saved lives and impressed even the most skeptical aliens. Your medicine is so aggressive, said a Cathani doctor who was working with her. Our treatments are much more gentle. Gentle treatments do not work on species from violent worlds, Torres explained. We have to be strong to survive on planets like Earth. Our medicine reflects that reality. Meanwhile, Chris Parker was working with engineers from multiple species to improve their technology. The aliens were amazed by human problem-solving methods. Where they would design elaborate computer systems, humans found simple mechanical solutions that worked just as well. You make everything so complicated, Chris told a group of alien engineers. Sometimes the best answer is the simplest one. Amy Walsh spent her time training with other pilots. She learned that most alien species relied heavily on automated systems and computer assistance. Human pilots who could fly manually had a huge advantage in combat situations. Your reflexes are incredible, said a pilot from the Nexgo species. How do you react so quickly? Practice, Amy said simply. On Earth, if you do not react quickly to danger, you die. But the most important discovery came from Roy's conversations with Commander Crixva and other station leaders. They learned that there were hundreds of species throughout the galaxy that were unhappy with Council rule. Many had been trying to organize resistance movements for years, but they lacked coordination and leadership. What we need, Crixva said during one of their planning meetings, is a symbol. Something that shows other species that the Council can be challenged successfully. You mean like humans escaping from Council warships? Roy asked. Exactly like that, Crixva confirmed. Your escape has already inspired resistance cells on dozens of worlds. If we could organize them into a unified movement, we might be able to change things. Roy looked around the room at the faces of aliens from many different worlds. Some were fierce warriors. Others were brilliant scientists. A few were cunning politicians. All of them wanted the same thing: freedom from Council tyranny. What would this organization be called? He asked. The Free Species Alliance, suggested Quintal. Dope. Open to any species that believes in equality and self-determination. Over the next week, they worked to create the structure of their new alliance. Roy found himself in an unexpected position. The other species wanted humans to take a leadership role, not because they were the strongest or smartest, but because they had proven they would not give up when faced with impossible odds. Deathworld species have one advantage over all others. Crixva explained. You do not accept defeat easily. That is exactly what this movement needs. But their planning was interrupted by urgent news. Sam picked up Council military communications that made everyone's blood run cold. They are mobilizing a massive fleet, she reported. Hundreds of ships from multiple species. Their target is Haven Station. The Council fleet arrived exactly when Sam predicted. Through the sensors, Roy could see hundreds of warships spreading out around the asteroid field. They were massive vessels from a dozen different species, all united under Council command. War Commander Zeftos led them in his flagship, Cathani dreadnought that was 3 times larger than any ship in the Alliance fleet. All ships report ready, Amy said from the pilot's chair of the Wanderer. Around them, 60 Alliance vessels of various sizes and designs waited for orders. It was not nearly enough to match the Council's firepower, but it was all they had. Roy, stood on the bridge of Haven Station, watching the tactical display with Commander Krixva and the other Alliance leaders. Their plan was desperate, but it was their only chance. "Remember," Roy said into his communicator, "to all Alliance ships, we are not trying to destroy their fleet. We just need to survive long enough for our message to reach the galaxy." Dr. Torres was in the station's communication center, preparing to broadcast everything they had learned about Council corruption. Quintal had provided them with classified documents and recordings that would expose the truth to every species in the galaxy. But they needed time to send the transmission too. Enough systems to make it impossible for the Council to suppress. "Council fleet is hailing us," reported the communication officer. "Put them through," Krixva ordered. Zeftos' crystal face appeared on the main screen. His expression was cold and angry. "Commander Krixva, you are harboring criminals and enemies of galactic peace. Surrender the human vessel and all personnel involved in terrorist activities. You have 10 minutes to comply." "We are not terrorists," Krixva replied calmly. "We are citizens exercising our right to question authority." "You lost that right when you allied yourself with Deathworld savages," Zeftos said with disgust. "The humans have corrupted you with their violent nature. This infection must be stopped before it spreads." Roy stepped forward so Zeftos could see him. "War Commander, we did not come here to fight. We came to prove that humans can be valuable members of the galactic community." "By violating our laws and disrupting our peace?" Zeftos demanded. "By turning loyal species against the Council, I've proven exactly what we said about your kind. We have proven that other species will help us when we help them," Roy said. "That is not corruption. That is cooperation." Zeftos' crystalline body flashed with angry light. "Your 10 minutes are up. All ships, prepare to fire." The communication cut off. Roy turned to his crew and allies. "This is it. Execute the Deathworld." Gambit. The Alliance fleet began moving toward a nearby nebula that Chris had identified during their planning. It was a chaotic region of space filled with radiation storms, gravitational anomalies, and electromagnetic interference. Most alien species avoided such areas because their technology could not handle the extreme conditions. But humans had grown up on a world where extreme conditions were normal. "All Council ships, pursue and destroy," came Zeftos' voice over their intercepted communications. "Do not let them escape into the nebula." The Council fleet followed them, but they were cautious. Their sensors were already being affected by the nebula's interference. Their advanced computer systems were struggling to compensate for the chaotic environment. Amy pushed the Wanderer deeper into the nebula with confidence. She had learned to fly in Earth's worst storms. This was just another kind of bad weather to her. "Alliance ships, execute scatter pattern 7, Roy ordered. The smaller Alliance vessels spread out through the nebula like a school of fish, avoiding a predator. The Council ships tried to follow, but their larger size made them clumsy in the tight spaces between energy fields and gravity wells. "First wave of enemy ships entering the nebula," reported Sam. "They're having trouble maintaining formation." Roy smiled grimly. This was exactly what they had hoped for. The aliens were too dependent on their technology. When that technology failed them, they did not know how to adapt. The first exchange of weapons fire lit up the nebula like lightning in a storm cloud. Alliance ships darted between the Council vessels, firing quick bursts before disappearing into the interference. The larger enemy ships fired back, but their shots went wide as their targeting systems struggled with the chaotic environment. Direct hit on enemy cruiser, Amy reported as she spun the Wanderer around a gravity well. "Their shields are down." But the Council had numbers on their side. For every successful Alliance attack, 3 more enemy ships entered the nebula. Slowly, the rebels were being overwhelmed. "Alliance ship Thunder is destroyed," came a report from one of the other vessels. "Alliance ship Swift is heavily damaged and requesting assistance." Roy watched the tactical display with growing concern. Their plan was working, but they were still outgunned. They needed something more. That something came from an unexpected source. Dr. Torres's voice came through the communication system, with excitement in her voice. "Captain, the transmission is working. I am receiving responses from across the galaxy." Dozens of species are confirming they received our evidence about Council corruption. More importantly, some of those species were doing something about it. Sam picked up new signals on her sensors. Captain, I am detecting ships approaching the nebula. Multiple fleets from different species. They are not Council forces. On the main display, new contacts appeared at the edge of the star system. Ships from the Valenex, the Quintal, the Shurin, and half a dozen other species that had been oppressed by Council policies for decades. This is Fleet Commander Norvell of the Valenox Republic, came a new voice over their communications. Stand with the Free Species Alliance. Council forces withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Zefto's reply was filled with rage and disbelief. You dare defy the lawful authority of the Galactic Council? You will all be branded as criminals and traitors? We have seen the evidence of Council crimes, replied another voice. You are the traitors to galactic peace. The tide of battle suddenly changed. The new fleets engaged the Council forces while the Alliance ships continued their hit-and-run attacks from within the nebula. Caught between two forces and fighting in an environment that negated their technological advantages, the Council fleet began to break apart. Multiple enemy ships are withdrawing from the nebula, Amy reported. Their formation is collapsing. But Zeftos was not finished. His massive flagship pushed deeper into the nebula, its powerful engines fighting against the gravitational interference. He was heading straight for Haven Station. He's going to try to destroy the station, Krixva said. If he cannot defeat us militarily, he will eliminate our base of operations. Roy made a quick decision. Amy, intercept course. We're not going. To let him destroy our new home, the Wanderer shot through the nebula toward the enemy flagship. It was a tiny ship compared to the massive dreadnought, but Roy had learned something important during their time in space. Size was not everything. Sometimes, being small and fast was better than being big and slow. Chris, divert all power to weapons and engines, Roy ordered. Sam, target their main weapon systems. Amy, get us in close. The little human ship danced around the huge alien vessel like a mosquito attacking a giant. The dreadnought's weapons tried to track them, but Amy's piloting skills kept them just out of range. Meanwhile, the Wanderer's concentrated fire slowly wore down the enemy's defenses. Their main guns are offline, Sam reported, but they still have secondary weapons. Alliance ships. This is Wanderer Roy broadcast. The flagship is wounded. All vessels, attack now. A dozen Alliance ships emerged from hiding places throughout the nebula and converged on the crippled dreadnought. Faced with overwhelming odds and unable to maneuver effectively in the chaotic environment, Zeftos finally accepted defeat. Council fleet, this is War Commander Zeftos, came the transmission. All ships, withdraw from the system.
Ow.
Retreat to rally point 7. The remaining Council ships pulled back, leaving the Alliance in control of the battlefield. Cheers went up throughout the rebel fleet as they realized they had won. But Roy knew this was just the beginning. The real victory was what happened. Next, over the following months, the evidence of Council corruption spread throughout the galaxy. Species after species withdrew from Council authority and joined the Free Species Alliance. The rigid, sphere-based system that had controlled the galaxy for centuries began to crumble. A year after the battle at Haven Station, Roy found himself back in the Galactic Council chamber on Zentara Prime. But this time, the situation was completely different. The chamber was filled with representatives Alliance. The old council members sat in a much smaller section, their power greatly reduced. Ambassador Veltar, the same alien who had rejected humanity a year ago, stood before the new assembly. His crystal body seemed dimmer now, less confident. Galactic Council recognizes the legitimacy of the Free Species Alliance, he announced reluctantly. We hereby rescind the ban on human travel and formally invite Earth to join the galactic community as a full member. Commander Morrison and Dr. Carter, The same human representatives who had been rejected before sat at the human delegation table, but now they were not alone. Representatives of dozens of allied species sat with them, showing their support for humanity's membership.